Hi everybody, my name is Father Ted here at Prophet Elias again, and this video is just meant as a quick follow-up to the previous video you guys just watched on a walkthrough through the baptism sacrament. So in that video we went through kind of like, how the Orthodox baptism service is laid out, and the different kind of stages and everything, and how it looks like, especially within this particular church. And I hope that that video was helpful. This little, kind of added extra video that I'm making now for you is specifically for you, the godparents, right? So those people who will be helping the parents baptize the child, and also taking on that beautiful, a very, very important role of being a godparent. So I just want to quickly go through, what is a godparent? What are the expectations of a godparent? Who can a godparent be? And what is their role, not only within the church, but also especially in the lives of the child. So number one is, what is a godparent? Well, a godparent, or in Greek we say anadoko, is kind of like what the name implies, right? It is the kind of secondary parents to the child. Indeed, in the Orthodox tradition, the most important person in the child's life after the immediate parents is supposed to be the godparent. We often think of the most important people in the child's life after the parents being the grandparents, because a lot of times, the grandparents are the ones who are there and they watch the children, and sometimes they live with the parents and they help raise the children. But in the tradition of the church, it is the godparent who is the next most important person. The reason for this is that the role of the godparent is to instruct and to help raise the child in the Orthodox faith. That is your number one goal as a godparent. It is not to get them gifts at their birthday or at Christmas or at Easter, or get them, a labada, the candle at Easter. All those things are nice and they're nice traditions, but those are secondary to your primary role. And your primary role as the godparent is to help the parents raise the child in the Orthodox faith. Now, what does this entail? This entails that you, as an Orthodox godparent, are yourself an Orthodox Christian in good standing. This is the number one criteria, right? And what do we mean by this? Like when somebody, comes to baptize their child in the Orthodox Church, and they are signing up and they're filling out all the paperwork, and they are asked to give the information of the godparents. Usually the office asks, is the godparent a baptized Orthodox Christian in good standing, right? So what do we mean by this? Well, number one is they have to be a baptized Orthodox Christian, right? So they have to actually be baptized, have become a member of the same church that they are going to be helping this individual child or adult being baptized grow in the faith, right? So they have to be of the same faith, right? And that is a qualification, because it doesn't make any sense for a godparent to be of another religion or another Christian denomination, because, as we said, the primary role of the godparent is to help the child be raised as Orthodox, right? So, for example, a Roman Catholic or a Protestant or another religion is incapable of doing that, because they are not of the Orthodox faith. They are not the same thing, right? So they would believe something else. It would be very, very difficult for them to raise the child in the same faith. Just like, for example, I have Roman Catholic friends, and they have asked me to be a godparent to their children, and even though we're very good friends, I'm not able to, because I'm not Roman Catholic. I don't know anything about what it is to be a Roman Catholic or the proper teachings of the Roman Catholic faith, and so I am not qualified to help raise the child in the faith. So number one criteria is that the person has to be a baptized Orthodox Christian, which means that they themselves can participate and have been participating in the spiritual life of the church, preferably for a very, very long time, right? And that they can pass on this experience. So that's number one. And number two is they have to be an Orthodox Christian in good standing. Now, what does this mean? A lot of people get confused with this. Well, being baptized into the faith is not enough. A lot of people think, well, I was baptized when I was a kid, and therefore I am Orthodox forever. Well, this is not the case. We can leave the faith anytime we want, or we can step out temporarily from the faith whenever we want, depending on the choices that we make in our lives, right? So, for example, if I'm a baptized Orthodox Christian, but, for example, when I get older, I decide that I want to go to another religion, or I want to become, a Protestant, or I want to become a Roman Catholic, or I want to be a Buddhist, or I want to be something else, and I leave the faith, then I, by my own actions, have left. I have stepped outside of the Orthodox Church, and I am no longer an Orthodox Christian. Indeed, in the old days, even if I'm baptized, but let's say I never go to church, like I don't go to church ever, maybe once a year, or haven't gone in years, I have technically ceased to be an Orthodox Christian, because I have ceased to be, for all intents and purposes, participating actively in the faith, right? I have the paperwork, but I don't actively participate, right? And in the old days, somebody could re-enter into the church only by confession and profession of faith again to kind of reintegrate themselves back into the faith, even though they were already baptized, right? So, there are a number of things that we can do to kind of place ourselves outside of the church. For example, we have switched religions. If we've been married outside of the Orthodox Church, which is not recognized by the Orthodox Church, so if I've been married on a beach, for example, or I've been married in another Christian denomination, I have effectively kind of temporarily stepped outside the faith, and I can always come back in. Of course, I can always get my marriage blessed very quickly and reintegrate into the church, so it's always fixable. But for that temporary period of time, I am no longer in good standing with the church, which means I can't participate in the sacraments of the church, I can't receive Holy Communion, I can't be a godparent, and so on and so on. So there are a lot of different kind of situations where people have stepped outside the faith, and in those situations, they are not able to be godparents because, again, if I myself am not able to participate fully within the Orthodox faith, or I myself do not believe in all the teachings of the Orthodox faith deeply and fully, and if I do not participate actively in the Orthodox faith, then how am I capable of passing that lifestyle and that knowledge on to the child who is now being baptized, right? So it's not a judgment, like a personal judgment on the person, for example, who may have left the faith or who may not be in good standing. It's not a judgment on their personal character, whether they're a good person or not. Rather, it is a qualification, right? It's like when we go to be hired for a job, the job may have certain job description, certain qualifications. You have to have a certain degrees or certain job experience. And if we don't have those, we are not qualified for that particular job. In the same way, what is more important in this life than preparing for eternity, preparing our spirituality, our own faith to meet God, and also to prepare others and raise them in the faith? There's nothing more important. So the church takes it very seriously, and so sometimes we have difficult situations where godparents are not in good standing, and maybe they are offended, or maybe they don't feel right not being allowed. But it is not a matter of the church judging us. Rather, it is the church saying, well, this is a very, very important responsibility, perhaps the most important responsibility you could ever take, and you need to be qualified for it, or else there could be damage done down the road, right? So this is why the church insists that a godparent is an Orthodox Christian in good standing, they are baptized, and they're also in good standing. So what does this mean for parents, right? Parents, this basically means that when you are choosing godparents, it is really, really important to kind of have this criteria in mind, right? That a lot of times, because sometimes with the generations and the years go by, we either have not been taught what the role of a godparent is, or our parents didn't know, or our grandparents didn't know, and it has become kind of a cultural thing, like I'm baptizing my child and I'm going to pick my best friend, or I'm going to pick my kumbaro, or I'm going to pick, my brother or sister, like somebody who I'm close with, who I love, who I have a good relationship with. Okay, this is not a bad thing. It's nice when we are able to pick people who are close to us and who are, we have a very nice relationship with. However, should not be the primary criteria. The primary criteria is I am going to choose a person who is best qualified to help raise my child in the faith. They're going to be a good role model. They're going to be living an Orthodox lifestyle. Of course, nobody's perfect, but they're trying their best, and that they are going to be a good example for my child. They're going to go to church with my child. They're going to speak about Christ and about the faith to the child. They're going to commune with my child. They're going to do religious things with my child, not secular things. And so when you're choosing godparents, it's nice when it's somebody who you're close to, but more importantly, it should be somebody who you feel is the most qualified from an Orthodox point of view. And this sometimes might involve asking somebody who maybe is not your closest friend, who is not your closest family member, maybe it's somebody more distant, but perhaps they are more qualified than others. And so this is something that parents need to keep in mind. This is also something that godparents should keep in mind when being asked to be godparents, right? So if I myself, for example, do not feel that I can fulfill my obligations as a godparent properly and fully, then I should decline. It's not insulting to say, listen, I am not the type of person that can take on this role, or I am not able to take on this role at this moment, and I think it's better to ask somebody else. So this is a great, great responsibility, because when we take on the role of being a godparent and we take a child or another human being, an adult, let's say, being baptized into the faith, when we take this person under our wing and we are attached to them spiritually through the sacrament of baptism, we are connected to them for life. And not only for life, for eternity. Our relationship, our spiritual relationship, stays connected to this person into eternity, even into the afterlife. We can't change our godparents. We can't swap them out for somebody else if it doesn't work out down the road. So it's really, really important. So if a godparent kind of leaves or disengages, or we don't see them anymore, then that child or that adult is stuck not having a godparent in their lives, which unfortunately sometimes happens, right? So it's a great decision. It's really, really important that we take it seriously. And this is why, this video is meant to kind of help you guys, to guide you, to give you the criteria. So just kind of a recap of what godparents should be. So number one, godparent should be an Orthodox Christian who is baptized in good standing with the church, which means hasn't left the faith for whatever reason, hasn't, kind of stepped out because of whatever canonical reason, and also is an active member within the church. So goes to church quite regularly, participates in the sacraments of the church, and actually believes in the faith, knows a little bit about the faith. They may not be an expert, but they should know at least the basics of the teachings of the faith, right? This is indicative of maybe, actually knowing the creed off by heart. Very, very important. Most godparents do not. And this is the basic teachings of the faith that we recite at every divine liturgy. I think godparents should know this off by heart, including the Lord's Prayer as well. So that should be the case. For parents, you should choose somebody who is active in the faith, who would be the best role model for your child in the faith, always with the criteria that they should be a good Orthodox Christian and help you raise your child in the faith, to give them the best upbringing they can, to the best chance that they will remain spiritual, they will remain within the Orthodox faith into adulthood, and will be able to cultivate that faith by good examples. And of course, the parents and the godparents and the immediate family are always the examples that our children will look to and will take from and will incorporate into their own personalities as they grow and become Orthodox Christians. So that is all for today. I hope this video is somewhat helpful to help you kind of understand the criteria for being godparents. And I hope that all of you will take the role very, very seriously moving forward as you prepare for the wonderful day when your upcoming baptismal day of your child or adult who is being baptized. And I can't wait to meet all of you and to help you along with this journey. Till then, take care and God bless.